I've got 9 methods you can use to make any riff your own. Because let's be real, you don't want to just play other people's riffs all the time. Yeah, I know it's fun to learn riffs and all that good stuff, but here's what I want you to understand before we dive into this is you have your own unique creative ability within you. Now, maybe you know that already and you just want to build on that, and we're about to do that, or maybe you question that. Well, I'm here to tell you the fact that you play guitar means that you are a creator. So let's create some riffs. That's the original riff that we're working with, and the first change that you can make is, of course, well, add some more notes. So I'm just gonna throw out some more notes here. Let's hear what that sounds like. Now we stayed with the same cadence and really stuck with the same format. Now you don't have to do that, and as we move throughout this process, we're going to be making some killer changes to this thing. But what I did here was pretty simple. I just added more notes, right? Instead of this, I just added some more single note riffs. And then I chopped up the power chords. So again, more notes. Now, the second thing you can do with riffs is the exact opposite. You can actually take away notes and simplify it. Let's hear what that sounds like. As you just heard, you can play a really cool sounding riff. I mean, I can imagine that having some really cool vocals over the top of it, or that's just the instrumental part, just that heavy chugging. It just sounds really cool. That's probably one of the reasons why you and I started listening to metal music in the first place, that heavy we just love it, man. There's something about hearing that. But yeah, you don't always have to throw in a lot of notes to have a great riff. Now, another change you can make is play the same riff, play the exact same thing, but play it in a different key, different spot on the fretboard. So let's hear that. What I did here was I just switched keys from E minor to A minor. I kept it on an open string. That just keeps things simple. So instead of, we did this. And it just gives it a slightly different feel. Now, with that, you might not want to just copy the riff and just play in a different key, although do that at first and just see what that sounds like, because again, it does bring just a different feel to the riff. But that's going to probably inspire some different things as you play that in another key. For example, this was played with higher strings, higher notes, so that might spark some creativity to go elsewhere with the riff, and of course we welcome that. Now, this next method is a little different, and we'll talk about it, but let's hear this. This is probably something you really haven't thought about or have really heard a lot of, so check this out. We didn't play any single note riffs, and we didn't play any power chords. Instead, we arpeggiated these notes, and you could probably like hear that with a clean guitar. That would sound pretty cool, or an acoustic or something like that, right? In fact, hold on. Got a little acoustic right here. So all I'm really doing here is okay, pretty cool. Imagine an acoustic guitar playing that, or a clean guitar playing that over the power chords. That would sound really, really cool. But what I did, just for the sake of simplicity, I just did it on electric, right? something completely different. And I want you to think about these things. Like, think about, okay, well, let's just go way off the beaten path. Let's play something way outside the box like we just did. Hey, it sparks something different. Now, what we're going to do next is another great way you can change a riff and really come up with some new ideas. We are going to change the tempo. I think we just added about 20 pounds of beef to our diet just now because that was beefy. And again, this brought on a completely different style and different feel. And it's like, okay, well, I hear that tempo change, and it was just a half-time tempo, right? Same BPM, but cut in half with the drums or the drum timing. But it just inspired me to play something different. You know, I tried this with it. But when I heard the drums, it just, man, this stuff just came out. And that could be like a cool breakdown within a song or something like that. But it just goes to show you something as simple as just changing the BPM or the tempo or just the drum pattern itself without touching anything else can bring out something different. Now it's gonna get a little bit more interesting from here because this time I'm actually going to try reversing the entire pattern here. So this is what I'm talking about. I sort of just kind of reversed most everything. I started out with the last power chord, right? The power chord that we end on, and then just kind of went backwards and then ended with some single note riffs. So it was like, then something happened. I'm like, okay, well, I went from there to there, and I didn't feel like playing like this. I could have done that, but again, I want you to think about this as you're writing and as you're changing things around. What are you inspired to play now? It might be something different. Starting with those power chords that we ended on just inspired me to play something different, so I did something like this. I don't know where that came from, but again, just because I made that change, I started to hear different things. Voices. Well, riffs. Riffs, voices, tomato, tomato. Anyway, this next method, and I forgot what it was, so let me look at it real quick. Hold on. Oh, yes. This is probably the most fun one to play. You notice we've been playing downstrokes all along. Well, we're doing something different. This is what it is. Actually, there are a couple of things I did to this riff. So you might note that, yeah, we're alternate picking now, giving it more of like that power metal feel, right? But we did something else too. Of course, I didn't play any single note riffs because as I'm starting to play this alternate picking, these just fast power chords, again, when you make a change, other things kind of trigger around that change, right? So I'm like, well, what if I play the inversion of these power chords? So those first few notes that we were playing, the single note riffs, well, they're based on the E power chord there. So I'm like, why don't I do the inversion of that, right? Then the same with the C power chord, right? And instead of playing the F sharp over D, that we've been playing, that's sort of along the lines of just playing a D power chord, so I went to the inversion of that. And I just applied the alternate picking. Now again, no single note riffs in that because when I started playing around with that, it just inspired me to do something different. But what if we do the opposite? What if it was like all this? We went from just playing some power chords, some like cool like power metal style power chords, to just playing single note riffs. I wanted to hear what this sounded like. I wanted to say, well, what if I just played all riffs, just all like choppy single note riffs? What would that sound like? Now we go back to metal doesn't always have to be overly complex and just a bunch of notes, but you do have times where you might want that, right? You might have like a series of power chords like the power metal style we just did earlier, or one of the prior versions of this riff, but then you might have a part in the songs like, man, why don't I just play around with some single notes and see what we can come up with? That was pretty cool. Now, for the final method, we've been playing these versions that can kind of fit into many different subgenres of metal. It could be like classic heavy metal, thrash metal, power metal, could even be symphonic metal. We could keep naming subgenres, right? But, I kind of want to go down a little bit darker path like this. It's amazing when you start doing the tremolo picking, it's amazing what comes out. And that's how I started writing this version, this 9th version of the original riff. Just these really cool sinister notes started to appear from, I guess, the abyss or wherever they come from. But now you notice one other thing. I also changed the drum pattern a little bit. I'm using the Chrome drums by Bogren Digital, by the way. You guys have seen my video on that. I'll link to that in the description of this video as well. But yeah, I just changed the drum pattern too, because as I started playing this, I'm like, okay, we need something a little different to kind of match what I'm doing here. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing this, because once you start down the tremolo picking path, so again, that sounds completely different from any of the versions that we've done up to this point. We took one riff, we made 9 changes to it, and some of these changes, like, okay, this is not even the same riff anymore. We're going somewhere completely different with it. Real quick, if you don't have my free Metal Riffs and Licks book, grab a copy of that. That guide has literally helped thousands of metal guitar players just like you, and I give this away to every one of my YouTube subscribers. Now, of course, if you already have Metal Riffs and Licks and you enjoy my videos, my style of teaching, then take a look at my Guitar Academy and take your metal rhythm playing and leads to the next level. Links to all this goodness is in the description of this video. It's been said by many great metal guitar players and just guitar players in general that we're all just borrowing riffs and licks, for that matter, from other guitar players from the past. Look, maybe that's true to a certain extent. Like, I love the old school Metallica, I love Amon Amarth and Arch Enemy. Been listening to a lot of Arch Enemy lately. I also love guitar players like Joe Satriani, one of my favorites. So there's no doubt that my playing is indeed inspired by some of my favorites. But here's the thing, and I said this in the beginning, you have your own unique ability. You have your own creativeness that is within you. And part of my job here on YouTube, and of course in my Guitar Academy, is to help you bring that out, bring that front and center, because I don't ever want you to think that, well, I just can't create my own thing, I don't know what to play. Look, go back through this video, go back through some of the techniques and methods that we applied to the first riff that we started with. Notice how that whole riff just changed, like the dynamics changed, and several of the riffs that we built on that with these methods, well, it turned it into a completely different riff. Actually, we went into a completely different subgenre of metal there towards the end. So you can do this. You've got it within you. So I just want to give you these words of encouragement. I want you to be the absolute best guitarist you can possibly be, and I want you to be your own guitarist. And you do that by continuously developing your own style of playing. Yeah, it's great to learn other riffs. I encourage you to do that, but I want you to quickly branch off and just start adding things to it. Like when you listen to a riff, where is it taking you? You might say, well, the riff is going this way and I'm playing it right or whatever, or I'm getting some of it, but I'm hearing something different. Go with that. Immediately stop what you're doing and go with what you're hearing and what you're feeling inside. So again, just want to throw this encouragement out there to you. Guys, thanks so much for watching my videos. I appreciate all the support. Until next time, keep it metal and keep playing music.